to. Give me a second.
There we go.
Here we go. Thank you again. Welcome to the Boston RIA. We are the most active real estate investing community in New England. We have a lot of deal flow going through here. We have a lot of networking. We have in-person networking. We always provide education. And we feel that we are the #1 resource to come to for help in your real estate investing career, for your materials that you need, for money, what have you. We are the #1 source of real estate education, deal flow, and networking in Massachusetts. We are also the only official chapter in Massachusetts of the largest trade association in the United States, which is called the National Real Estate Investors Association. Who some of our national partners are Home Depot, Real Protect, Rent Perfect, Office Depot, Equity Trust. And because of that, and because of over our 5 million members nationally, we can get huge discounts, and we leverage that and pass them on down to you, the real estate investor, to partake in all the benefits of our trade association. And we'll be telling you a little bit about that a little bit later on. So I just want to go back over the chat box. When we have our in-person meeting, the same rules apply. If you have a want, a need, please introduce yourself. Please make your requests specific. Include your contact info. Don't spam us with advertisements in there. So that chat box you see, it's there for you to use. And please use it generously and nicely. You'll find it right there at the bottom of your bar. You can keep it popped up. So is Sarah on the line with us tonight? I want to introduce our investor-friendly realtor. Kelly, it looks like you said something about Sarah? Okay. Let me unmute her. Okay. I can't hear her. So we are going to, Sarah's not on the line yet, but what Sarah does for us is she does our market updates. You can find her also our market updates on our website, Boston Real Estate Investor Association.com/news. And we break down different parts of the market in Boston, in Massachusetts, what's going on, where to invest with your, just a general outline, get the really pulse of the market. And we do that once a month. I'm going to talk about some other software that we do have that you can do your own market segmentation and get a whole lot of data from yourself. And I said, I'll show you an example of that shortly. But as an investor working with real estate agents, you always want to have an investor-friendly realtor who will make lower offers than some would do for you, who will go to work for you, negotiating. If you have a house you need to sell, getting you the best value for it. So please take Sarah information's number down because you'll want to at least talk to her in the area. Really good handle on the investor market. All right. All right, and for those people who like in-person networking, we have a group down in the South Shore that meets at the beer hall, which, we do networking, beer drinking, cigar rolling, some little fun activity. We have talk, it's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you can't get there, we're going to be opening up some other ones later on in the year. But right now, this is our main in-person networking down on the South Shore. Come on down. It's a lot of fun. This one is $10 to get into, but hey, you're going to meet these people in person. Well worth it. Come on down. Okay, so I was just talking about the Sarah giving us a market update, but when you become a member, you have the ability now included in your membership to Homeworth, which is the National Real Estate Data Portal, where you can actually go in and break down market segments, get real specific data on rentals, on tenants, on house sales, under market value, market rates, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of data in there that a person who's just trying to use the MLS, I shouldn't say even MLS, would provide this sort of data, who is just trying to do some generic research online will never get to. So this is really drill down stuff. If you were to pay for this, it would be a $99 monthly subscription. but we include it free in your membership cost. So this really is a no-brainer. If you haven't looked at it yet, just log into your membership area, and you just want to go down to Homeworth, the National RIA Data Portal, and you can get in there and start doing your searches. I just see Sarah came on board, so I'll get her in here talking in a few little bits shortly. But as you know, this is a little slide, a little bit more about that Homeworth thing, but I'll leave the slide up. You can read it. I'm going to have a video demo of this going up on the website anyway. So please make sure you sign up for our newsletter. It'll drive you to the website where this tool will be demoed. So great tool. It's included with your membership fee. One of the other things I want to talk about why we're a great resource is because it's not only about making money, it's about having a life balance. So as a member, and you can just, if you haven't got your login yet, please just go to bostonria@lifeinair.com, and we'll get you set up with the login. It's a separate dashboard. We have a private community there. We have a whole bunch of specific videos to take you from beginner to expert through many different areas of real estate investing methodologies. And we have live events. People all across the country come to these live events. So, but the first thing you need to do is get your login from bostonria@lifeinair.com, and we'll get to set up. Yeah, if you're really wanting to have life balance, because it's life is not just about money, it's about balance. So be a life on air. So that's my little blurb about that. Highly well worth it in regarding your membership. We have a new program. I just want to talk to it if in regards to if you are a vendor and you want to be listed and get in front of our 5,000 members in the Boston area, please go to the link in the website or email me, look on our website in the members area. You will want to put all your details in here. And then these are vendors that we look at and say, hey, look, we endorse these people. We give approval. They've met our criteria as a contractor. So get yourself listed on there, because we push this out to our 5,000 members as a list. Say these are our recommended vendors. So if you have something you have to share, a service, a product such as money, what have you, please add yourself to our vendor VIP list to get in front of our Boston RIA members. We're here about networking and getting the best of the best. So if you have a resource that's not on the line tonight, it's not even you, let's say your uncle's a carpenter and you want to get him, more work, please get him to register. Just pass on the link to him, and we'll give him a call and make sure he's on our list. So yeah, guys, and if you are just wanting a list for you know who to get to, and there's a whole program behind this. So if you want to be a remote landlord and something comes up, you go right to the list, and they can actually bid on your job right then and there with inside the list, and go out and confirm that the job was done, and you can do everything on the back end through the system. So and this is totally free for members who want to use it. And make your life easier, work remotely, working with our vendors. So moving on from there, we have some exclusive member benefits that are not open to the public at all. It's part of the Home Depot Pro Extra program, the loyalty program. Let me see if Sarah's online. She can talk very briefly about this. Sarah, are you with me?
I
You
am.
see it. All
I'm
right, I
finally
can't
here.
see you, Sarah. All right, so I'm going to make you a co-host. I'm going to let you talk a little about the Home Depot program just for about 2 or 3 minutes, if you could, and then we'll kind of fly through that. I know I'm just trying to keep things a little bit short on our announcement period. Sarah, there you go. Hold on. Make you a host. Okay, co-host. All right, Sarah, you are a co-host. You can take over screen. I'm going to stop sharing for right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Sarah, take it away.
Did it take, let me see. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, you know what? I think I'm not a co-host yet. Yeah, I'm not a
Co-host.
co-host.
There you go. You should be now.
Oh, okay.
We'll do it again.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Duncan.
All right.
Um,
Got it, sir?
yes, got it. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to March. Uh, quarter of the year is gone, 3 quarters yet to, coming. But spring is here officially, eventually. Um,
Is it
so
really?
it is in Boston here. We can absolutely see it's starting very early between the weather and all that. I'm sure we're gonna talk about this more about the market update, but Home Depot is a fantastic and exciting topic for me. I love to always talk about it. It always impressed me for what they do for our members. So Home Depot, they have a rewards program. This is just strictly rewards. It's not a credit card or anything. Just think of it as CVS or Shaw's or any or any like retail that basically the more you shop, the more points and the more discounts and rebates and stuff that you get. Home Depot is just no different. That being said, our members, Duncan and Kelly, have negotiated a deal with Home Depot, so you can walk to Home Depot and just get some discounts. But if you're a member with us, you get more. And that's what we're gonna go over tonight. So our members, they get 2% biannual rebate on all purchases. So anything and everything you buy at the checkout, make sure at the pin pad you just enter your phone number that you used to sign up with Boston RIA. And we're gonna talk about more about that you have to have a registered payment method. That's what you use, and that's how you collect the 2% rebate. Home Depot have 2 set periods per year in which you will collect your 2% rebate, January 1st until June 30th, and then July 1st until December 31st. So, and how it works is that if you spend at least $5,000, which is under $1,000 a month on purchases, that's when you get the rebate. Home Depot will give you a gift card for anything that's under 1,000 or more. You get a check. Normally gets mailed out to you within 60 days from the closing day of each cycle. So just make sure that your mailing address is up to date with Home Depot so you wouldn't lose your rebates. Also, our members start at the gold tier. What that means is that you get 20% at the checkout on paint, and that's has nothing to do with the rebate minimum. Let's say you signed up tonight and you have a project and you just need paint. You don't have to worry about spending $5,000. This is something else, has nothing to do with the 20% you sign up tonight. You get the 20% immediately tomorrow at the checkout. How it works is that you enter your phone number at the pin pad before you swipe your card, and then Home Depot allows you to register certain payment methods. It could be credit card, it could be a checking account, it could be like any, like even a Home Depot reloadable gift card or any of that. So that would be the payment method that you would be using to collect your 2%. So how it works is that after you enter your number on the pin pad, you swipe that registered card. At the checkout, you get the 20%, and then the 2% gets accumulated throughout the 6 months cycle. And then you get that at the end after the cycle closes. That also that 2% thing allows you to track purchases for up to 24 months. So it's great. It's not 2 years, it's 24 months. The 20% is applicable to paint stains and primer of a gallon or more. Doesn't apply to quartz or spray or anything. Also, our members can get up to 20% of select Hampton Bay kitchen and bath cabinets if purchased 10 or more in a single transaction. How it works is that you get 10% from National RIA and 10% from Home Depot, and you can apply these with any other, those are stackable with any other store discounts. So you can get at least 20% is guaranteed. Also, Home Depot offers a volume pricing program or bid room. And how does it work is that you have a list of a large item that's gonna cost $1,500 or more. Bring that to the pro desk, have them prepare a quote for you. After that, have them send it to the bedroom, and then within few minutes, it's gonna come back to you with all the applied discounts up to 15%. And then again, when you pay with a registered card or a registered checking account or anything of that, that's when you get the 2% on top of that, not at the checkout, but on top of that in the end of the 6 months. But you get anywhere from 0 to 15 at the checkout. The only thing that I wouldn't send through the bedroom is the paint, because you get a better deal with the 20%. Duncan always makes sure to update these numbers. He always updates them. He sends me the updates and I always update them. So those are the most recent 6 months. Home Depot paid out to chapter members more than $500,000 with an average of 1456. So that's alone is worth like several years of Boston RIA membership. Even if you're signing up for a couple or like a business partner membership. And actually, as of very, very recent, which was just under 10 days ago, one of our members, I honestly didn't remember that I signed him up last year, and he just renewed his membership. And I reached out again to sign him up. And he said, no, you actually did that last year and all that. And he said, I just got a check for over $1,800 for my second 6 months of the Pro Extra. That, I don't know if I can see that was like what, February 29 or something? Can you see the date somewhere here? February 28th, February 20. Oh, it's right here. February 28th. That's when he sent me that. That was just 10 days ago. So these numbers is just on average, but we have members that actually get more than that. So the more you spend, the more you get. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to get not Kelly's number. Shoot her a text or give her a call. Sign me up and she's get you squared away. You have to start with Kelly because I need that information to sign you up on Home Depot. So it has to exactly match so the system knows that you are one of our members. It's very simple, very easy, takes under 10 minutes, really like about 8 minutes. And we do it directly from Home Depot website. Great, thank you so much. I'll give back the screen to you.
Sarah, thanks very much. Now, before you go,
Yeah.
I told everybody you're an investor-friendly realtor, so can you please give your little elevator pitch why they should call you and what you're doing for our members?
Yes, so I definitely also work with a lot of investors. Oops, I think okay. So I work with a lot of investors as well, flippers, you name it. So I run numbers for them, make offers for them, tell them my thoughts on the area. ARV, we submit offers. A lot of time we come across off-market properties, like I would say like a couple days ago, I've been also submitting or actually like blasting to my database an off-market property was a flip in Tingsboro. So, it's I work in Mass and New Hampshire, licensed in both states. So if you are looking for investor friendly realtor, that knows the market, is not afraid of making offers or running numbers, I'll be happy to talk to you. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, just one more thing. I just want to tell them, why don't you tell them your website, because you do put out a newsletter and they can find out more about you on the website if you want to do that.
Yeah, I can definitely put it in the chat. It's very easy and very simple. It's MA as in Massachusetts, 2 TO, New Hampshire, NH, homes. So think of it as Mass New Hampshire homes. So MA to NH homes.com. That's my website.
Awesome.
It has videos, it has newsletter. And I think I did not take down that off-market property. So
Awesome.
if you want to walk around, just feel free to give me a buzz.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. And Sarah will be back next month on time with her market update. But that's why I say visit her website. She can get out some information to you, about different areas around Boston, where to go to invest, get a handle on it. So you're there. All right. Thank you, Sarah. Let me move on here now to I think I'm looking at my screen now. Hold on, just bear with me here to get to where I want to go. So Home Depot is just one of the benefits that we have. We have a whole lot more. The membership pays for itself just in the discounts alone that you get from us. So take a look at the website. Like I said, we got a ton of great deals for you, ton of great vendors. And along with that, we have we're connected with a lot of money lenders. There is no excuse in our organization that you don't have money to do a deal. We'll get you to the right person so you have money to go do a deal. Okay, because you're going to need money to compete, and we can definitely put you in the right direction to get that done. So if you're serious about real estate investing, let us help you make money. Join our association. You can join as a single, you can join as a business partners, you can join as a spouse. And why is my screen stuck? There it is. So it's $320 a year for single, $400.50 for couples. You have to text Kelly at this number, 864-906-4111. Her information is in the chat. So reach out to her and she will sign up you personally. And then you'll get a welcome letter from me and then copied from Sarah to make sure you're in Home Depot, the program. So you can just start getting those points and benefits right away. So we look forward to having you as a member today. So without any further ado, this is the big one. And I wanted to speed up the front half so I give Bill a little bit more time. Bill Knoll is an attorney and a CPA with over 30 years of experience in accounting and litigation. So for the past 20 years, Bill has operated a CPA firm that was founded by his father, where he and his staff deal with tax and asset protection strategies on a daily basis. More than half of Bill's clients are real estate investors, okay? So the presentation he's going to be giving to you tonight is real world advice and not making broad generalizations. So before I say take it away, Bill, I want to say this is how it's going to work if you have a question. Okay. If you have a question, you can make a note, but you're going to be asked to ask it in person, and you have to turn on your camera. Okay. Second of all, that the recording that goes out will only be behind the paywall. We cannot have this information out in the public. So if you're not a member, you will not get a replay of this. All right. As a member, it will be posted next week with Bill's information, and it will be behind our membership paywall. That's the only way you're going to hear this on repeat. That being said, you better take a lot of notes if you're not going to join us. But you will, for questions, have to raise your hand with the little advice there. I'm going to make you go live and ask Bill in person. So that's the rules for tonight. So with that being said, I'm going to say, take it away, Bill. And are you with us right now?
Yes, I'm here, but it says I've been disabled from screen sharing. So I need to
I'm going to make you a full-on host. Okay. So you will have total control. Give me 1 sec to do that. I don't want to you have to have screen sharing. So let me go to list here. All right. And I'm going to go to make host. Okay. So you have full control now.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. I will look out in the chat. I don't know if I can, as a co-host, unmute people. I might be able to, so I can get them to look. I'll work through it. So,
okay, great.
All right, Bill, take it away.
Great, thanks, Duncan. So, let me just give a couple of suggestions for you. I like to actually set some ground rules for questions. I like to take questions. I'd like you to post them in the chat box so that Duncan, when I tell him, can read them, okay? And in essence, say, hey, Betty Jones, you posted your question. Please turn on your microphone and turn on the camera. so I can interact without necessarily, having to guess at what the question means. It's tough to do that on chat. So keep these things in mind when it comes to asking questions, please. First thing is this, please don't start a question with, I heard my attorney say, or my CPA said. Here's the thing, they may have given you very good advice, okay? I'm not gonna know all of the facts which form the basis for their advice. So I'm not really gonna know what exactly they were suggesting to you, okay? You're welcome to ask me a question. This is my question, this is my circumstance. Do you mind answering it? And I'm glad to answer, but what I can't engage in is sort of a hypothetical debate. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'd ask you to limit your question to things you think are going to be helpful to everyone who's on Zoom this evening, and not something that is so hyper specific to you that's probably not going to benefit anyone else. One time I was just speaking to a group and the person asked me about investing in Costa Rica. And I said, number one, I don't know anything about Costa Rica tax law. And number two, no one else here is investing in Costa Rica. So we're not going to answer that question. Having said those two things, keep them in mind, and please feel free to fire away in the chat box, and then I'll prompt Duncan when I'm ready to take some questions. So my name is Bill Knoll. I am a speaker, author. I'm an investor. I manage my own properties. These materials were created by myself and a former late, great friend of mine, Al Aiella, who used to speak before I took over from him. So I want to thank you for attending tonight to the Boston RIA presentation. I am here to talk about how to protect your assets, okay? And what I mean about that is I want to talk to you about how to protect your assets from a legal standpoint, from lawsuits. Next, I want to talk to you about how to protect your assets by setting you up with the best legal structure, giving you the best opportunity to pay the lowest tax rates possible. And then lastly, I want to protect you from the worst vulture of all, the IRS. And I want to show you how having the right structure can dramatically reduce the possibility of an audit. So you should have an asset protection system for real estate, not for the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Your asset protection plan should give you total protection while avoiding adverse, that's bad, negative tax results, while avoiding high IRS audit risk, while avoiding complexity, and while avoiding high-cost attorneys. And I could badmouth attorneys because I am one. In essence, you want to have an asset protection plan without any bad side effects. Welcome to our program this evening, the LLC Master Machine Asset Protection System. I'm going to be teaching you how to protect yourself from wrongful creditors, lawyers, ambulance chasing lawyers, lawsuits, disagreements with co-investors, and the worst vulture of all, the IRS, all while avoiding expensive lawyers. I want to teach you how to make the legal system work in your favor. So who is Bill Knoll, and why should you listen to me? Well, I am a licensed attorney and licensed CPA. I continually maintain those licenses. I'm a national speaker. I speak to lots of different RIA associations. I am a landlord and investor, and I manage my own properties. From a professional standpoint, I began working in accounting in the 1980s. I got an undergraduate degree in accounting. I went to law school. Upon graduating from law school, I became a prosecutor in suburban Philadelphia. And after many years of being a prosecuting attorney, I then became a partner in a law practice. Can everyone please mute? I'm hearing a lot of background. Thank you. I became a partner in a law practice where I did all forms of litigation. I did criminal defense. I did domestic. I did we get money for you contingency fee litigation. I did workers' compensation. I was handling all sorts of cases, tried a lot of cases, ended up getting tired of going to trial every week. And so now for the last 15 years, I've limited my practice to what accountants call compliance. What does that mean? We file tax returns. And next to business entities and structures, okay? So now, as a real estate investor, theoretically, you can be sued anytime, anywhere, for any reasons, and there are thousands of lawsuits filed daily. One lawsuit can wipe you out. But let me take you back to this. Especially someone who's a newer person investing in real estate. They may have a lawsuit filed against them, and they say, how can I be sued? I didn't do anything wrong. So here's what you have to understand. The initiation of a lawsuit is a mere allegation of a wrong. It's an allegation. Someone says, you harmed me in some way. And then the person says, I deserve some form of compensation. Usually that means money damages. Okay. And a lawsuit is pursued. Okay. So filing a lawsuit is a mere allegation. Okay. The process of litigation, which includes pleadings, taking discovery, which includes what are called motions, ultimately to have the case resolved either by dismissal or as a result of what's called a summary judgment by a judge, or resolution by settlement, arbitration, or trial. Okay, that's the process of litigation. So you need to understand that the initiation of a lawsuit is nothing but an allegation. Let's talk about how one lawsuit can wipe you out. Without a structure, like I'm going to educate you this evening about, the wrong lawsuit can absolutely wipe you out. I have a quite close friend who is a surgeon outside of Wilmington, Delaware, President Biden territory. So anyway, my close friend, this was about 18 years ago now. He was a, principal in a surgical practice there in Delaware. And there was a guy who was younger than him who had just recently joined the surgical practice. And this is a guy who I think was about 34, 35 years old. He had done med school, and then he had done fellowships, and then he had done residencies, and then he had done extra training to become this high-level surgeon. Okay? So he's finally hired by a practice. He's finally making a lot of money. And so he and his wife, and they got a couple of kids, he and his wife decide they're going to have a really big custom home built. This is a long time ago when $1.5 million really bought something. And so while that home was being built, the surgeon and his family rented a home, more middle-class, modest, regular middle-class rental property. Okay? So they rented from a landlord that did not have a structure in place. So landlord owned the property in an individual name. Well, one summer evening, this young surgeon was returning home from work. And as he's driving home, there's a thunderstorm kind of picking up, brewing. And so it's getting worse and worse. He pulls into his driveway, okay, that on the home he's renting. There's no garage. And there happens to be a really big, large oak tree in the front yard with big limbs that hang out over the driveway. So this surgeon gets out of the car. It's just starting to really rain. And he's kind of ready to run for the front door. At that moment, a large gust of wind strikes, and a big tree limb from this tree fell. It struck him, and he became paralyzed. Okay? What did that mean? As someone who was a surgeon, who was going to be making $1 million a year, okay, and surgical theaters are really not set up for someone who's paralyzed, in essence, he could no longer be a surgeon. He could act as a physician. There's plenty of work that he could do, but the amount of money he could make was dramatically reduced, probably by half, okay? He filed a multi-million, tens of $1 million lawsuit, okay, as a result. And what did that do? Because there was no structure in place by the landlord, it wiped the landlord out personally. So the reason I'm telling you this is, without a proper structure in place, you are exposed to that form of major lawsuit. You want to avoid that, okay? One of the other things I'll mention to you is, even often when you win a lawsuit, you lose. Why? Because with the exception of personal injury cases, if it's a lawsuit for any other reason, insurance doesn't pay for it. You got to pay for it anyway. So you pay for the defense costs. Even when you win, you got to pay. I will say this as someone who went to court really almost every day for about 12, 13 years. The only ones who win in a legal action are the lawyers. Now, why? Look, real estate is a high liability asset. Why is that? Well, first of all, you got to realize that when you own real estate, you have a tangible asset. It's physical. You're going to have tenants, okay? The tenants can be injured on the property. The tenants can invite guests onto the property who can become injured. These days, every tenant is having package is delivered by Amazon, UPS, whatever, the driver can get injured, okay? So it's the fact that you've got a physical asset with people on it that can result in an injury. You know, of course, I want you to be investing in real estate, as do I, but you got to recognize that if you invest in some kind of Fidelity or Vanguard fund, there is no worry about liability for that. What else happens? Well, you've got an asset that appreciates and creates equity. As a landlord, you're subjected to lots of different regulations, okay? Especially with regard to discrimination against tenants. You're going to deal with contractors. You're going to deal with other people when managing your real estate. You want to have yourself protected. Well, you know, Bill, I got insurance, so I don't have anything to worry about. Well, that's not quite true. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Of course, you must have liability insurance if you have any form of financing, and I would never tell you not to have insurance on your property, okay? But insurance doesn't protect you from all kinds of other negative things that can occur as a result. For instance, disagreements with tenants, claims that you're not maintaining the property properly, claims that you have discriminated against someone who applied to become your tenant, okay? Claims about, in essence, the condition of the property. Those things generally can result in a lawsuit, and with the exception possibly of the condition of the building, if there's no exclusions, you're not going to have coverage for that. You're going to have to pay your own attorney to defend you. How about disagreements with contractors, people you hire? You know, that you sign a contract, you agree to pay them, they don't get the work done, they sue you, okay? How about disagreements with co-investors, all right? There's other disagreements you could have with a real estate agent, a management company, a title company. Any one of these lawsuits could result in big time suck, along with the need to incur additional legal fees. In addition, generally, insurance does not cover usual environmental claims without a rider for things like lead paint, asbestos, or mold. Those things are usually excluded till you buy additional coverage. As I mentioned already, insurance certainly doesn't cover fair housing violations, all right? And I'll tell a story about a very significant apartment owner, owned, I think, more than 1,000 units in Philadelphia about 2.5 years ago. The Federal Trade Commission sanctioned them for asking to see the driver's license of people who were applying to become tenants. They were filing a rental application, and they said, you need a driver's license. And somehow the Federal Trade Commission said that was a violation of their rights and was discriminatory. All right, that's just one story. You know, when you have these types of claims, insurance doesn't cover the cost of the attorney, okay? In addition, insurance won't cover if there's a claim exceeding the limits. You know, typically in an ordinary policy for liability, you might have $1 million liability limit, all right? That $1 million went nowhere with the physician who became paralyzed, okay? So, you know, even with insurance, if you have a catastrophic loss, you can still, you know, end up being out of pocket without the proper structure. As of course, insurance won't prevent lawsuits from happening. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about this evening is how to make yourself close to lawyer-proof. Insurance will not give you financial privacy, and that's one of the keys to protecting your assets. Next, insurance won't defend you in the event that the IRS decides to audit you. And our program I'm going to teach you about this evening will do that, all right? In addition, insurance will not support the multitude and spectacular great tax-saving strategies that exist for you as a real estate investor only and not in any other asset class. And the program we're going to teach you about tonight will do that. So I want to talk to you about a properly structured LLC and an asset protection plan to give you all these protections. Let's talk about the powers of limited liability companies and how to save thousands of dollars. And this is true whether you maybe have established an LLC, and you'll probably find out at some point during my presentation that you don't have sufficient documentation, or if you want to create an LLC now. And we're also going to show you how to work with a company, and they will assist you in filing your LLC document creation without a charge, okay? So let's talk about what a LLC is. An LLC is a limited liability company, okay? It is a form of state entity, okay? Generally, when you are an owner of an LLC, you refer to the owners not as shareholders like a corporation, but instead as a member, okay? And typically you have liability protection similar to a corporation. So one of the things I need you to understand, this is really critically important. If you're taking notes, please, this is a note to take. LLCs owners get to decide how they are treated from a tax standpoint. I oftentimes have someone come to my office, my CPA practice, they've started a business, and I say, what kind of business did you start? And they say, an LLC. And I say, okay, great. How is it taxed? And they look at me and say, it's an LLC. That means they don't understand this fact. An LLC is a legal entity. It does not describe the tax status of the entity. So we're going to talk about that now. If you have an LLC owned by one person, that's called a single member LLC, okay? If you have a one person that is a single member LLC, the IRS calls this a disregarded entity. Write that down, disregarded entity. And what that means is that the LLC does not file a tax return separate and apart from its owner. Instead, the LLC reports the income and expenses of the LLC on its owner's tax return. So there's not a separate tax return filed. Instead, with a disregarded entity, all of the income and deductions are listed on its owner's tax return, okay? And that's what's called the default. If you have an LLC owned by one person and you do nothing, it is a disregarded entity under the law, according to the Internal Revenue Code. Unless, here's the unless that member, that single owner, chose to file an election for the LLC to be taxed as either an S Corp or a C Corp, okay? So when you have an LLC owned by just one person, it is either a disregarded entity or taxed as a partnership or taxed as a C Corp. Those are the three alternatives, okay? Now, how about if you have more than one owner in the LLC? That's called a multi-member LLC. It could be 2 owners, it could be 18 owners. Don't care, all right? If you have a multi-member LLC, by default, if the company takes no action, that LLC will be taxed as a partnership, okay? Next, if the owners chose, they could file an election for that LLC with many members, many owners, to be taxed instead as either an S Corp or a C Corp. So with a multi-member LLC, the options are partnership or S Corp or C Corp, okay? As you might ask a question to me in the chat box today, if you say, I have a question about an LLC and here's my tax question, I won't be able to answer it, okay? So be sure, if you're asking me a question about an LLC, say, I have an LLC and it is taxed as a partnership, or I have an LLC taxed as an S Corp, or I have an LLC, it's a disregarded entity. Because if you just say, I have an LLC and ask the question, I will not be in a very good position to give you a very good answer. So please keep that in mind. When you have the right type of LLC with a proper structure, you get all the major advantages of other entities while avoiding a lot of the pitfalls that those have. For instance, LLCs give you liability protection. That means protects your personal assets from the claims of the company's creditors, similar to a corporation. But really, and I can't get into too much detail on this, when you have an LLC taxed as a corporation or a corporation itself, whether S or C Corp, it really limits your refinancing flexibility, because with corporations and refinancing, you can end up having a taxable event that would never happen if you are refinancing an LLC taxed as a partnership or an LLC taxed as a disregarded entity. So generally, you don't want to have corporations taking title to real estate, okay? Next, LLCs have the best tax advantages like a general partnership, but a true general partnership gives the partners no asset protection, no liability protection whatsoever. So you would never actually do a true general partnership, but they have great tax aspects. limited partnerships are useless in today's world unless you're worried about the federal estate tax, which currently would kick in for a married couple when you have net assets with a value exceeding 23 million bucks. So generally, limited partnerships give you no benefit, and they take away a lot of the tax power of an LLC taxed as a partnership, because a limited partner may not use IRS passive losses on your real estate that you are allowed to use with an LLC taxed as a partnership. LLCs are not subject to one of the big problems with an S Corp. My buddy Al used to write this. What does the S and S Corp stand for? Well, it stinks. Why is that? S Corps are litigated frequently. Why? Because when you have an S Corp, you must pay yourself what's called a reasonable wage, a salary, okay? You end up paying payroll taxes, which aren't due if you are a real estate investor otherwise, okay? And potentially, again, creates a bunch of tax problems. So generally, as I mentioned already, I do not want you to take title to real estate, whether it's an S Corp or a C Corp. And so I'm going to tell you to stay away from that. Now, I will say, if you are operating what I call an ordinary trader business, like my CPA practice, or if you happen to be an insurance broker, or potentially if you are a real estate agent, in that realm, the use of an S Corp I got no problem with. But for real estate investing, stay away from them. So ultimately, LLCs are better than sole proprietorships, general partnerships, limited partnerships, family limited partnerships, S Corps, land trusts, which you don't even hear about much in the Northeast, and C Corps as holding title, okay? LLCs really have few disadvantages when they are properly set up. So let's talk about this. Where should you establish your LLC? Where should it be domiciled, okay? You know, often when I speak to a group, I'll be told after the presentation, usually in person, I wish I would have seen you speak 7 months ago. I went out to, and it's almost always Las Vegas, out to Las Vegas, where I attended an asset protection seminar, and they set me up with a multitude of entities, and several of them were set up in Nevada. Okay, now, here's the thing they push for Nevada. You know, if you set up a Nevada LLC, there's no income tax in Nevada, and that's absolutely accurate, fair statement, okay? But if you happen to have a Nevada LLC that earns income in Massachusetts, either from a rental property or earns income from the sale of real estate, do you think you get to tell the Massachusetts Revenue Department, hey, I'm a Nevada LLC, I don't owe Massachusetts income tax? No, hell no, you do not, okay? You owe income tax based on where the income is earned and following that state's tax laws. So part one, okay, there is no tax advantage to a Nevada LLC, okay? They also claim there's purported extra layers of asset protection. I don't buy it. I don't accept it. I don't believe it's true. Look, if a lawsuit is filed and you're a Massachusetts investor with a Massachusetts property, it's going, the court is going to follow Massachusetts law, okay? So you having a Nevada LLC doesn't give you any kind of wiggle room that someone with a Massachusetts LLC would not be able to engage in, okay? So generally, I take this position, okay? And then we'll break for a question or two. First position I take is, you do not need to have an LLC owned for, you do not need a separate LLC for every investment that you take title to, okay? That is great advice for someone who is, in essence, a lawyer, or if you do online services, an online service is going to say, oh, you know, spend $1,000 for every one of your investments to create a new LLC. It's not necessary, and it creates additional paperwork. The other thing I will say is this: there are certain times when I think you should, in fact, have a separate LLC. The primary one is this. Excuse me. The primary one is if you have a commercial property that you expect to be rented by a bar, okay, that serves what the law calls intoxicating liquors. You want to have that property owned in its own LLC with nothing else. Why? Because where alcohol is served, fights happen. Where fights happen, lawsuits get filed. And when a lawsuit gets filed, the lawyer files against the bar and he files against the landlord, claiming that the landlord did not have proper lighting, did not have proper security, did not require the tenant to engage in the hiring, for instance, of a bouncer, all kind of stuff. So you definitely, if you've got a commercial property that could have a bar on it, you want a separate LLC for that. The other thing is this, as you make a more significant investment, I'm okay with having a single LLC for that. If you buy a multi-unit investment property with 90 units, yeah, have a separate LLC. But my point is, if you're buying a single home, some kind of row house, duplex, townhouse, whatever you want to call it, and you've got 10 or 12 of them, you can have them all in one LLC. Okay. So with that, Duncan, are there any questions yet in the chat box? I don't see Duncan. Let me see if I can.
I just had to unmute myself. No, I'm here. I had to unmute myself. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, no. Does anybody? Let me actually get here, guys. If you have a question, if you haven't written it in the box, can you raise your hand for me so I can just see if you get it all at this point. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen it says reactions, lower hand, raise hand. I think you're good with no questions at this point, which is kind of surprising to me. Okay, let's go on.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I will try to encourage you if you have a question, and I'd love to take them, put it in the chat box. Awesome. I want to talk to you about what's called the Corporate Transparency Act. That is a new law. It was enacted, I think it was like 2018, but it only became effective January 1st of this year. It is a requirement to disclose the ownership of every LLC and corporation that has been filed in the United States, except big companies. So big companies don't have to do it. But if you got a small, closely held company, you're going to have to potentially register under the Corporate Transparency Act, which means you would file, write this down, please, a BOI report, a beneficial ownership interest report, okay, a BOI report. And it's done through an agency called the FinCEN, the FINCEN, the FinCEN. And if you Google FinCEN BOI, it will take you to their website. Up until Monday, I was telling everyone that if you had an LLC created before January 1st of 2024, you had to register it by the end of the year. And that if you created a new company, LLC or corporation, in 2024, it actually had to be registered within 90 days. I say those were the statements that I was making because a federal court declared the law to be unconstitutional on Monday. And so the rule is now on hold until the courts make further findings. So there's an injunction against it. You are not required at this moment to file, but I will say this is something to keep aware of, okay? Because certainly the courts could reinstate it. It might happen later this year, I don't know, but you should be keeping your eye on it. Once, or if, I better use this word, if the law is reinstated, then and you would fail to follow it, the penalty for failing to follow it is $500 a day. So it'll wipe you out. So please keep this in mind. It is not something that I have gotten all that worked up about. At one point I had some worry. Here's what I'll tell you. It is not a public record document. An attorney cannot look up any of these records. This is a law enforcement and what they call national intelligence database. So it's like for the FBI, the CIA, and state and local police departments, but state and local police departments actually have to go to a judge for the judge to say they have a legitimate interest. It's not quite at the level of the search warrant, but it is a statement. It's not like any old Barney Frank cop can do a search under the Corporate Transparency Act and find out who owns a company. So keep that in mind. As I said, that changed literally on Monday. The news was out. It's all over like the legal publications. Okay. Next, I want to tell you why I believe an LLC, ultimately taxed as a partnership, is the best tool. I'm going to cover it from three kind of standpoints: a legal standpoint, a tax standpoint, and an IRS standpoint. In essence, I'm showing you what entity protects your assets the best while reducing your taxes the most and reducing the possibility of an audit. As I said, when you are a real estate investor, it is an LLC taxed as a partnership. So let me explain this. On the left side of the slide, from a legal standpoint, what's that mean? Well, you have liability protection, and liability protection means that your personal assets are protected from the claims of the creditors of your LLC. That's what liability protection means. Next, on the middle, from a tax standpoint, you are filing a partnership tax return that's a flow-through entity, and that gives you the best opportunity to pay the lowest legal tax rates possible, okay? And next, on the right-hand side of the slide, from an IRS standpoint, when you file a partnership return, you file that information on a Form 1065, okay? And, you know, typically, I already mentioned this, a lot of you might have an LLC that is owned by you and that is treated as what's called a disregarded entity. And what that means is that the income and expenses of the LLC are showing up on your personal tax return, your Form 1040. Typically, if that's the case, the income and expenses will show up either on Schedule C, which is income from self-employment, or on Schedule E, page 1, which is rental income and rental expenses, okay? That's where they show up, all right? Now, if you are a LLC taxed as a partnership, you'll file a Form 1065, and, you know, there will be no information on your Form 1040 about a Schedule C with regard to your real estate activities and about your rental income and expenses, page 1 of Schedule E. Why am I pointing this out? I'm pointing it out because you are 300 to 400% more likely to be audited filing on a Schedule C or Schedule E, rental income and expenses, than reporting the exact same income and deductions on a partnership return. Do you want to increase the chance of being audited? I sure hope not, okay? Let me go into a little more detail on what happens when you file a partnership tax return. That's a Form 1065. So again, the income and deductions get reported on the partnership tax return, okay? And then with the partnership tax return, Form K-1s are issued. You may have heard of a K-1. A K-1 I describe as a souped up W-2. What do I mean by that? It is information which is generated by the partnership tax return and then issued to the partners. And a K-1 identifies, the IRS calls this items of income and items of deduction, okay? If you've ever seen a K-1, there's about 25 boxes, okay? There's lots of places where income and deductions can show up, okay? I'm not going to get into too much detail, but just understand that it's way, way more detailed than you'd ever see a W-2. But it's similar in that that information is presented to the IRS. Now, the partner takes that K-1, okay, and then that information is imported into that partner's Form 1040, okay? And the taxes end up being calculated the same way when it comes right down to it, okay? But the thing is, because you're not reporting on Schedule C or as Schedule E, page 1, which is rental income and expenses, you are dramatically reducing the possibility of an IRS audit. And, you know, now that the IRS has hired, or is in the process, I should say, of hiring 80,000 new employees, half of which are to be devoted to increasing audits, you know, you want to avoid the possibility of an audit. Now, once you have your LLC, you want to, what I'm going to say is separate your what I'm going to say, your business activities from a tax standpoint and a legal standpoint. Let's talk about that a minute. What do I mean by that? First of all, from a tax standpoint, okay? As I said already, you're not going to report your real estate investing income and expenses on your personal tax return. No, it's going to be on a partnership tax return. So you're separating it that way, okay? How about this? Of course, you are going to operate the LLC as separate and distinct and apart from you, okay? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, you know, when you sign a contract, you sign it in the name of the LLC. You don't sign the contract Bill Knoll, okay? If I got a LLC called Black Hills LLC, okay, a contract's issued, it's going to be issued to Black Hills LLC, and then I'm going to sign the contract, Black Hills LLC by Bill Knoll agent, okay? I'm putting the world on notice that Bill Knoll's not signing the contract. Black Hills LLC is executing the contract through its agent, Bill Knoll, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? Now, just another slide to show that when you use an LLC tax as a partnership, the information on the right-hand side of the slide, that's the real estate income and expenses, and that shows up on the Form 1065, much less likely to be audited, okay? And then, as I said, that information ultimately gets imported into your personal tax return by way of the issuance of K-1s, okay? Now, how about a single member LLC? I talked about it, district ordered entity. First of all, I'm going to be talking about veil piercing in a bit, and it is easier to pierce a veil with a single member LLC than one taxed as a partnership due to a special classification or protection called charging order protection. So that's part one. And then the important thing is, I've already said several times, part two, you're just much more likely to be audited, okay? So I hope by now I've convinced you that it would be a good idea to have an LLC taxed as a partnership. How do we do that? Okay, so a couple of ways. First of all, if you are married, okay, you and your spouse own an interest in the LLC, taxed as a partnership, okay? Easy thing to do. File a partnership return. How about this? You get a family member, either a parent or an adult child, willing to be a small, just a 1% owner in the LLC, okay? Let me explain this. So there's a thing you're allowed to do when you have a partnership called a disproportionate allocation. And what that means is, in essence, you could have a family member, say it's your dad, I'll be your 1% partner, okay? He gets a K-1 issued to him, but it reports 0% of the income and 0% of the deductions. So he gets a K-1 with zeros. Guess what that means? He doesn't complicate his return at all. Nothing needs to be included, okay? He gets a K-1 with zeros, all right? The K-1 does indicate that he has a 1% capital interest in the company, but that means nothing because he's not getting any of the income and any of the deductions. You, on the other hand, even though you own a 99% interest in the partnership, are taking 100% of the income and 100% of the deductions. You are absolutely allowed to do that under the Internal Revenue Code for partnership law. So that's another way you could have a partnership created. Or let's say you don't have anyone else you want to bring in, okay? You don't have a family member you want to bring in. You just want to be on your own, okay? This is another way to accomplish it, and this is the only way to accomplish it by creating what I call a partnership with yourself. It only works the way I'm going to describe right now. So here's what you do. You first, in essence, create a corporation. And we generally recommend that the corporation be created in Wyoming and be what's called a Wyoming statutory closed corporation. Makes its creation and maintenance very simple, okay? So first you create a Wyoming corporation. It's a C corporation, okay? You own 100% of the Wyoming C Corp, okay? Next, you create your LLC, okay? And you identify yourself in your individual capacity as having a 98% ownership of the LLC. You separately identify the C Corp that you happen to own 100% of, all right? you separately identify the C Corp as having a 2% interest in the company, okay? So in essence, you've created a partnership with yourself. If you use this strategy, you will need to file a tax return for the C Corp, and the C Corp will be issued a K1, but it's going to be a really simple return. There's not going to be much to it. It's only getting 2% of it, and it's really not going to be that big of a deal. So there is a way, even if you're single and don't want to bring anyone else in, to create an LLC to be taxed as a partnership. Now, please understand, you can't do it with an S Corp. You can't do it with another LLC taxed as a partnership. You can't do it with some kind of trust. It's only with a C Corp. So that's a way to create a partnership with yourself. Okay. Now, once you are now set up in an LLC, especially if you're a newer investor, you may be incurring expenses. You're participating in the Boston RIA group. Maybe you've gotten some education. Maybe you brought a mentor aboard that you paid to teach you something. Okay. Once you have an LLC set up, you have developed what's considered to be an operating business, and therefore you are able to deduct the expenses being incurred, which would not be the case when you don't have an LLC set up, because it will be deemed to be non-deductible education, not ongoing education for an up and going and operating business. This is true even if you haven't yet bought a property, and we can even show you in our system, if you've incurred expenses, let's say in 2023, and you set up the expense in 2024, how to report that, okay? Now, I'm sure some people here have heard of the term bail person. I want to explain what that is, okay? In order to do that, I first need to give you some background. The first thing you need to realize is when you operate a company, a corporation or an LLC, any company really, okay? The number one fiduciary duty of the owner is, you might not think of it, but this is it, don't screw your creditors, okay? That's what it is. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you properly manage the finances of the business, okay? So, and by the way, when you have an LLC, you better have an LLC's business bank account. I can't tell you how often I hear about someone set up an LLC, but they just use their personal account and just do it that way. Audit nightmare. Please don't ever do that, okay? Now, so you set up an LLC, you get a business bank account set up. What goes into the business bank account? Well, money that you're going to need to invest. So if you're going to buy a property and you're going to put $40,000 down, for instance, I'm just picking a number out of the sky. You're going to put $40,000 into the business's bank account, okay? What else goes into the business bank account? Well, if you're collecting rents, okay, and the property is a rental property, you're going to collect the rents and it's going to go into the business bank account. If you sell a property, the proceeds from the sale go into the business bank account, okay? And if you need to put more money into the account, that's okay. Put more money into the account. So that's what's the going in part of what's in the business bank account. What comes out? Ordinary necessary business expenses. What do I mean by that? For if you're doing some kind of improvements, because you're going to buy a property and sell it, fix it up and sell it. The costs, of course, of improving the property, the costs to acquire the property, all right? Those are expenses. When you have rental properties, you might have a mortgage payment you got to make. You got to pay property taxes, potentially got to buy or pay for insurance. You might have to pay someone for some maintenance. You got to pay a plumber, you got to pay an electrician, whatever. Those expenses related to the operation of the business, those get paid, okay? Sounds simple, right? Here's what you don't do, and here's what too many people do, okay? All right, I am taking my family on a vacation. We're going to take a cruise. It's going to cost $8,000. So I got $8,000 in my LLC's business bank account. You know what? Plus, the card I'm using, it gets points. So I'm just going to, in essence, I'm going to pay for this cruise, which has nothing to do with my business. It's a family vacation, non-deductible. I'm going to pay for the cruise out of funds of my LLC, okay? Or I got to pay for my kids' tuition at school, and I need $14,000, and there's $14,000 in the bank account. I'm going to use the business bank account to pay for the kids' tuition, okay? Don't do that, okay? Why? Because the minute that you commingle business and personal expenses within the bank account of an LLC, you've blown it, okay? You've blown it, okay? The key to avoiding veil piercing is properly operating the bank account, okay? So that the only thing going in and out of that account are business-related money coming in, income, and business-related expenses, money going out. Now, someone's going to say, yeah, but Bill, I'm in this thing to make money. I want to make money so I can take my family on the cruise. No problem. Not a problem at all. You want to take the $8,000 cruise? Not a problem. You can either transfer the money or cut a check from your business's LLC account to your personal account. That's it. Okay? You're allowed to do that because if there's $8,000 in that LLC's business bank account, it's likely your $8,000. What do I mean by that? You either invested the money in the LLC or you earned it through either selling a property or collecting rental income. So that money in there, that's yours and you're allowed to spend it. You're allowed to do what's called a non-deductible partnership distribution. So you're absolutely allowed to do that. But whatever you do, don't take the shortcut, okay? So that's really important. Now, why am I telling you this? Because in the event of a lawsuit, a lawyer can pursue what's called piercing of the veil. And what that means is, in essence, the lawyer says to the court, this person didn't operate their business in a prudent fashion for the protection of the creditors. And therefore, you, judge, aren't going to be able to tell, and this is what the judge thinks of. Can you tell where the business ends and the person begins? And if the things are so intertwined to the degree that the judge doesn't want to figure out where the business ends and the personal begins, if it gets like that, they basically say, okay, you blew it, veil's pierced, okay? And that means, if the court allows the veil to be pierced, that if a judgment's entered, the judgment will be entered against the company and against you personally. A judgment would be entered against both, all right? So, and the fact of the matter is, veil piercing most often happens when people don't understand these rules as I'm laying them out for you. They establish their company, their LLC, and they're just not running it right. And usually it's people that just don't know any better. So in the old days, we talked about kryptonite, taking it to Superman. The kryptonite to really prevent veil piercing, and that means protecting your personal assets, is also having documentation, entity written words to show that you are not the LLC and the LLC is not you. You're demonstrating that, in essence, you and the LLC are not one in the same, okay? And this is more important when you have a newly established LLC, when you have just a few owners, okay? So please keep that in mind, all right? So at this point, I'll ask again, Duncan, I don't know, can you see whether there are any, has anyone posted any questions in either the chat box or if anyone wants to raise their hand?
And I actually have a question. Wow, that's really, tax stuff is not, I don't think, very many people's favorite things. But Bill, I have a question. When you said non-deductible partnership distribution, for starters, would the owner of the company be putting that in the memo line as they're distributing around, for the bookkeeper?
Okay, so here's I'm glad you're asking. Are you asking me, like, if you wrote a check and you put it in the memo, or are you asking me if you're using QuickBooks? Well, I'm not sure when you say, in what fashion?
Bank, when you're actually physically banking in the memo,
okay.
would you write non-deductible partnership?
First of all, I don't care whether you write on the memo that it's a distribution, okay, if you're using a check. If you're using an accounting or QuickBooks, or you're recording the entry, the account to be identified is, partner distribution. and it's a
Okay.
part of the equity account. And you would theoretically, if you got two partners, you can have two separate partner distribution accounts, one for partner A and another one for partner B.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Gosh, I need to be doing this better.
Okay,
So,
great.
Bill, we do have a question, and before I get to Dave Zhang, you know, look, taxes, all this stuff is not my forte at all.
Nor
And
mine.
you know, and when I put in what you were talking before, you know, about being open to audited, ask me how I know. I don't know what I should know. I don't, and it was a mess. So you know, in my opinion, it just pays to get the right person to do this for you. Heck with trying to figure all this stuff out yourself. You know, that's why I like people like you are out there and understand the business. Like, hey, you make my life as painless as possible with this stuff because you enjoy it. I hate this stuff. You know, my passion is getting into the art of the deal.
Right.
Your passion is helping me make the art of the deal even look better for me. So, you know, I love people like you. And, you know, when it comes to me, it's no brainer. I got you. You know, I want you. Don't tell me, just set it up. You know, let's get it done. So I'm going to have Dave Zhang, if you would unmute, I'll unmute you. And if you would turn on your camera, he has two questions. And the first one, rule of thumb. Second one is for married couples owning property. Question 3 is when buying an asset. So let me just find you, Dave, and I'll unmute you. Okay, just give me 1 second here. All right.
Thank you, Duncan. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
So
We can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bill. I'm not going to be shy and ask you these really naive questions. So, because like I heard this myth saying like people should have an individual LLC for each and every property.
I
And you are
just said
saying
that,
like,
and I said you don't
yeah,
need it. What's your
exactly.
question?
So is there a rule of thumb? Like,
There
say,
is no rule of thumb. There is no rule of thumb. What I would say is, and you know, I'll just cut to the chase here. When you have an LLC taxed as a partnership, okay, Dave, if you had 7 LLCs, you would need to do 7 separate tax returns. Do you think
That's
either
true.
you or your accountant wants to do that?
No. But the
Right.
thing is, for tax protection, will people chase down for one single LLC saying, okay, I'm injured in this property A, and I know you have 3 properties, so I deserve the money from all
Yeah.
the 3
Okay.
properties because you
So,
owe 3.
okay, Dave, there's a way to do it, okay? And what you're going to find out is I'm offering a package this evening, and including in that package is having a 45-minute phone call with me, okay? And this is one of the things that I talk about. There's a way to layer disregarded entities under what I'm going to say is a single partnership LLC, which gives you that segmentation while still only needing to file a single partnership return. So there's some ways to get it done, but when I'm teaching this, because I have to teach with broad brushstrokes, what I'm teaching is I start with the idea you can have an LLC taxed as a partnership with, I call it several investments, and then there's permutations of that is part of our program.
Got it. Thank you so much. And like, if I'm allowed to have a couple more questions, you talked about single partner, multi-member partnership. So I think for a married couple, it's kind of natural to have 2 people.
Yeah, I agree.
that.
And Dave, you know, every once in a while, some guy will be like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to be partners with my spouse," and I say, "Under the law, you are whether you know it or not." So
my question here is
100%.
under the IRS, a married couple file jointly are considered like a family.
Exactly.
So in that case, are they still consider 2 members?
Oh yeah,
Like, I'm confused here.
So you guys are in Massachusetts. I'm in Pennsylvania. Okay, there is a nuance. I'm going to say a nuance. For many years, lots of accountants said, hey, if husband and wife own the LLC, they can treat it as a disregarded entity. That's actually true according to the IRS in what's called a community property state. which are primarily states out west like Texas, California, Utah, okay? Those community property states, you're allowed to treat, a married couple is allowed, can elect to treat an LLC owned just by the married couple as a disregarded entity. But technically, Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, what are called common law states, technically, if you ask an IRS agent, they say, if you're married, you file a partnership tax return. Now, the one thing I would say is this, ultimately, that's really getting technical. And my only point is this, if you want to reduce your chance of being audited and you're married, file a partnership return, whether whether you're allowed to or you're not, or you could choose not to. You know what I mean? Like, so that's my advice, Dave.
Okay, thank you so much, Bill.
All right. Okay, anyone else before I move on? No other questions, I think, right? Duncan, we're good.
We are good right now.
Kelly, okay, thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Okay, so what documents are the critical documents to prove you are not the LLC and the LLC is not you? They are an operating agreement, minutes of meetings, LLC certificates of ownerships, and resolutions. So an operating agreement, what is it? An operating agreement is to some degree similar to what bylaws would be for a corporation. It sets the rules of the road for how this LLC will be run and who will own it, okay? So we have an operating agreement that's solely and exclusively designed for you as a real estate investor, all right? Typically, if you were to go to an attorney and have them do an operating agreement, it would be 6 or 7 pages, and it would be for any and all activities, okay? Typically, they write something like, the company may engage in any and all legal activities within the state of Massachusetts, okay? Ours is totally distinct and different. It is specifically for you as a real estate investor, covering all facets of being a real estate investor, okay? It is not for you to operate your architect practice out. It is not for you if you are a car, repair shop to use that operating agreement. This is exclusively for you as a real estate investor, okay? And when that's the case, when you have an operating agreement for you as a real estate investor, it should also identify the great tax saving strategies which exist under the Internal Revenue Code for you as a real estate investor, and cross-reference the IRS regulations showing that you are totally following all of the IRS rules. So we've got an operating agreement specifically and only for real estate investors. Next, in addition to the operating agreement, you should have minutes and resolutions. Here's what's curious. LLCs were set up to be less formal than corporations. And so the states, when they created them, basically did not require that LLCs maintain meeting minutes like corporations are required to, okay? Now, having said that, however, the law with regard to deciding whether the veil should be pierced always says, did the LLC maintain meeting minutes? If it does, that is a factor against piercing of the veil, okay? On the other hand, if the LLC fails to maintain meeting minutes, that is a factor favoring piercing of the veil. So although not required, okay, you certainly are more exposed to veil piercing without minutes. So you need to have minutes. Next, a certificate, a document showing your ownership interest within the LLC. You know, in the old days, you would have like a tangible piece of paper, a share of stock, okay? This is a tangible piece of paper. It's an LLC unit showing your ownership interest, similar to a share of stock, okay? And then the last thing we offer are resolutions. Resolutions are written authority to act without the formality of holding a members meeting, and that's typically done when you're buying or selling properties. So from a legal standpoint, when you don't have these documents, it's really hard to show I'm not the LLC and the LLC is not me, because you've got nothing to show that. All you got is Bill Noel walking around making deals under the name of the LLC, and that's all you got, okay? So, you know, you need to have these written documents. Without it, veil piercing becomes not all that challenging. And then the other thing is, if you ever get audited, okay, and especially if you're someone newer to investing, they're much more likely to disallow your costs as non-deductible educational expenses or a thing called non-deductible startup, or make you amortize it over 15 years in a way that won't happen when you have an LLC set up, which is an operating business with a business bank account with a stated activity of being investing in real estate. Okay, so once you have these documents in place, you don't have to worry about these things. So next, lots of people use some kind of online service, LegalZoom or some other service, and I can tell you, they'll file what's called the Articles of Organization. That's the filing document to create your LLC. A lot of people do that. They don't even get an operating agreement. They don't do minutes, okay? They don't do anything, okay? I can tell you that I've had clients who've used LegalZoom not for real estate investing, but for other activities. I say, hey, how much do they charge you to get all those documents? And they're like, oh, it's like $850. So when you get everything that you should have, even LegalZoom's going to charge you something approaching $1,000. Okay. There's lots of people that'll tell you, oh, especially, I hate to say it, the Nevada promoters, these guys that are gonna, I'll give you a story. 8-9 years ago, I was speaking in, I think it was around Tampa, Florida. And this couple had gone to an asset protection seminar, and they had maybe 3 or 4 real estate investments they had just made in the last year or so. And they said, we met with these people, and they're proposing that we do this asset protection system. And it had a bunch of different, what I'm going to say are interrelated entities. It looked like an old-fashioned flow chart, okay? And they said, what do you think of this? And I looked at it, right? And I go, well, I think this is an awesome asset protection plan. And they go, really? And I said, yeah, for Mitt Romney. And then they go, what? And I go, well, I mean, if you got money like Mitt Romney, this is a great idea. You got money like Mitt Romney? They're like, no, we don't have much money at all. I'm like, they're like, it's $8,000. I said, throw it out. Don't even touch it. Okay. So, just so you know, like, you don't need this overkill. I had a call, I think it was just today. Someone got, I don't want to say who, but they have lots of big events, and they have an affiliated company that creates entities, and they'll always create like a holding company, and then a sub LLC, and then another LLC, and like they'll give you 4 or 5 entities, and they'll claim like, and they charge like $1,000 a year just to maintain it. You don't need all that, okay? What we're going to offer is something much more simple, okay? We're going to show you about our asset protection system, the LLC Master Machine, and its document creation system for you to, without the need to hire an attorney, in essence, create an LLC taxed as a partnership with the awesome documentation that we've created for you as a real estate investor. It's for anyone who's investing in real estate, covering all legal and tax aspects of being a real estate investor while avoiding adverse bad tax side effects, avoiding expensive lawyers, and avoiding complexity. With the most critically important document, the operating agreement extraordinaire, which can be used in all 50 states. It's not 7 or 8 pages, it's 122 pages, covering legal protection, tax provisions, IRS compliance matters, okay? In addition, it will support your real estate tax saving strategies, which exist for you as an investor, and also provide for you an audit defense tool. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? We've got proper provisions to cover you from protecting from disputes from all sorts of people. So here's some of the headings within our operating agreement. We identify that it's confidential, separate from the members, specific business purposes, real estate. It's a real estate investment, business intent, how to handle cash distributions, how to handle property distributions, how to handle capital accounts, the fiduciary duties, prohibited acts, loans back and forth to the members in the LLC or from the LLC to the members, how to add a member, What happens in the event of divorce, death, incompetency? We've got a buyout valuation formula. We got arbitration provisions. We got items that members are expected to do and items that they're forbidden from doing. We deal with issues regarding tenant, property management. We reference meeting minutes, company resolutions. We cover, as you can see, it's an all-encompassing document. All right. Testimonial says the operating agreement alone is worth $10,000. That's Lee. Another one, the LLC Master Machine Asset Protection System has the absolute best operating agreement. It is packed full of details that you need to protect yourself and your assets. We find it extremely comprehensive and helpful. That's Tony and Veronica from Minnesota. Plus, here's where I get excited. The tax provisions that I talk about that support all of the great tax saving strategies for you as a real estate investor. So first, let me explain something to you. You know, as a former trial attorney, and someone who's tried many cases, I now get referred lots of people who are involved with IRS audits. And that's not because my clients get audited, but because lots of CPAs I know, they go, hey, Bill, you were a trial lawyer. Can you do an audit? And I say, yeah, that's nothing. I mean, I did murder cases. I can handle an audit, no big deal. So I'm telling you this because I go into audits, okay, frequently. And they always ask, can we see the operating agreement, which I produce? Okay. Now, one of the things you need to know if you're audited is you're going to be audited in what the IRS calls the SBSE division. That's the Small Business and Self-Employed Division. Okay. They audit everyone that's got a small business, anyone and all. A typical SBSE auditor might only ever audit 1 or 2 real estate investors in their entire career. They do not know these rules. They do not know these rules, okay? They have to reacclimate themselves with the rules. Now, why am I telling you this? I'll give you why. When you work with the IRS, they're basically bureaucrats. They are not even allowed to be evaluated based on how much money they raise in an audit. That is prohibited by law. They're primarily evaluated based on how quickly they close the file. Why am I telling you this? Because I make what I find my client, I put together a package. I find if I make the auditor's life easy, they don't dig too far. They don't dig too hard. Okay. Now, in addition to that, as I said, they don't know these rules very well. So if I'm working with an auditor and they say, hey, this person has a bunch of rental income, you didn't file a Schedule SE for self-employment tax, I'm going to turn to the operating agreement and I'm going to say here, look at Internal Revenue Code section 1402A1. It's at the bottom of the slide, which says rental income is not subject to self-employment tax. And they're going to go, oh, wow, great. Now, what did I do? I just saved them 45 minutes of research. That's what I did. I gave them the citation for the rule. Okay. So that, and they'll verify it. They'll go look it up. They'll be like, yeah, that's right. Bill was right. That was the rule. Okay. But what I've done is I've shown them the rules and they'll confirm it. And guess what happens? All of a sudden they go, these guys know what they're doing. They got it tied down. Boom, we're done and off to the next one. So this operating agreement with these tax rules and citations in them provides an audit defense for you. You can see there's a multitude of these within our LLC operating system. In addition, of course, our operating agreement includes provisions to fully deduct real estate, education, and travel. True, even if you're a beginner, haven't yet owned any properties. And as I said, even if you set up an LLC now in 2024, but you had expenses in 22 and 23, we can show you how to deduct those expenses. All right. So we got a testimonial. With the new system strategy and support, myself, my CPA are confident to fully and safely deduct my real estate education, saving me over $5,800 this year. You know, in the past, the problem was how do you create these documents on a one-off? When I ran my own separate law practice, if someone came in and said, do this for me, Bill, I'd say, number one, I don't want to do it. Number two, it's going to cost you $10,000. Okay. But instead, we've created the documents for you. You don't need to hire an attorney. And what are you going to do? You're just going to fill in a few blanks. You're going to log into the website that we'll give you access to. All right. You're going to enter the state where your LLC is being established, the date it's been established, the name of the LLC, and then you're going to identify the members names and their percentage ownership with the person owning the greatest down to the person owning the least. Put that in, bingo, what do you get? You get your operating agreement, over 120 pages long. You get a initial members formation meeting. You get minutes for annual members meeting. You get certificates of membership units for the members. And then we have 14 resolutions, okay? Plus, if you want to use that separate C Corp to be the other member, we have documents to show you how to do that, okay? Plus, we show you how you can add or remove LLC members very simply and very easily. Remember, this is legal documents drafted by me, but you do not need to hire an attorney. And with the depth and, great detail, if you went to an attorney just for the operating agreement, they'd be charging $5,000 plus. Here's another testimony. With the LLC Master Machine Asset Protection System, real empowerment to protect my assets is at my fingertips. It's simple to understand, and best of all, the legal paperwork is prepared with the AutoDoc software with the push of a submit button. What do you get? Operating agreement, membership certificates, resolutions, make you legally and IRS compliant instantly. Hands down, the best investment I made. Phenomenal. Thanks for what you do. That's John. He's a real estate investor in Colorado. Plus, how about this? How about if you've created an LLC? Let's say you created it in 2018 and you realize your documents either aren't very good or you don't have any at all. Well, if you have rotten documents, you can throw out those old documents. When you enter the date of the LLC, you put the date it was created. Let's say it was July 18th, 2018. You put in July 18th, 2018, print out the documents, throw out the old documents, you're good to go, okay? Like Manage, you're converting really a not protected LLC into a powerful vehicle of wealth protection. These documents will help your LLC to not be collapsed by the courts of the IRS, aside, of course, from giving you this great protection. None of these documents are public record documents. These are internally maintained documents, okay? However, you can, in essence, chase lawyers away with these documents, often even without showing these documents. So I'm going to talk real quickly about the brother-in-law letter that our student Natasha got. Lots of attorneys get this request. Hey, I need you to write a strongly written letter on your letterhead saying, I'm going to sue you to kingdom come if you don't pay up. So our student Natasha got this letter, and here's what she wrote in reply. It was a guy, an attorney, saying, pay the contractor $11,000 that you owe. It was, of course, his buddy, or else I'm going to sue you to kingdom come. Her reply, dear attorney, Preferred Property Associates at PPA LLC, engage your client to do contract work on one of PPA's properties. According to the terms of the contractor agreement with PPA LLC, the contractor did not do a satisfactory job, therefore is not being paid the balance. First, all agreements, correspondence, work orders, and company resolutions with the contractor were fully executed and done in the full legal name of PPA LLC as a separate state statutory entity. The contract wasn't with Natasha. Next, PPA LLC is totally compliant with all necessary entity formalities, including and not limited to operating agreement, minutes of meeting, resolutions, certificates of ownership, fully executed, notarized on file. Next, all LLC tax returns have been timely and properly filed with the appropriate taxing authorities in total compliance. And next, also properties are heavily encumbered with debt, leaving negative equity. But what happened? Natasha never had back from the attorney. Here was the discussion I'm sure the attorney had with the client. Buddy, hey, buddy, this lady knows the score. She's got her ducks in a row, okay? And, winning this case is not going to be easy for you. Yeah, but, she's got a nice house. She's got a big car. Like, she's got to have money. She's got to be able to pay. Well, wait a minute, pal. You didn't sign a contract with this lady, Natasha. You signed a contract with PPA LLC, right? Well, yeah, but what if I win the case? Well, look, first of all, I don't know whether you win the case or you don't. She said you screwed up the job, but let's assume for the moment that you win the case against PPA LLC. Does that mean you're going to get any money? Well, yeah, I get the money, right? That's what happens. No, this is what the lawyer says. You get an order to pay a money judgment. That doesn't mean there's any money, okay? And she already said there's no equity in the property. So you might spend, I'm not representing you for free, you can spend $15,000 to $20,000 pursuing a lawsuit, get a judgment, and never collect it, okay? Keep that in mind. As a result, Natasha avoided $11,000 lawsuit. Our power attorney letter is an example of effective lawsuit prevention that umbrella insurance will not give you. I like to talk about lawyers okay? And that's because I am one and I don't like most. So the truth is, most lawyers are not comfortable with numbers. Why do you think we went to law school? Next, they're not trained in accounting. Next, they want to intimidate their clients using legal terms. They don't explain that Latin terms, legal terms, really what they're done is to intimidate their clients, take the power out of their client, the layman's hands, okay? Next, hourly billed lawyers earn money by extending a case, okay? And if you have to hire an attorney to defend you, even if they can settle it, they're not going to settle it until they earn about $3,000 to $5,000 in fees. That's just how it works. All right. Next, unless the lawyer will work on a contingency fee, and that's unlikely unless you personally are injured and there's insurance standing behind it. The best advice most of the time is do not start a lawsuit. And as I said already, winning a judgment and collecting money are two entirely different things. Keep those things in mind. In our LLC program, we're going to teach you about the 16 entity formalities that are included, how to avoid veil piercing to prevent exposing your personal assets. We're going to teach you how to transfer the properties that you may have in your individual name into the name of the LLC while avoiding the due on sale clause, possibly avoiding transfer taxes in many states, and not have any tax problems with a result of this transfer. Okay. We're going to show you when Wyoming is a good state for creating an entity. Specifically, it's a great state if you're going to use the Wyoming statutory closed corporation. In addition, you will have in the online system a written instruction guide along with audio files where we teach you about how to implement our LLC master machine system. It's fun. You'll hear me talk. I promise it's not boring. Take you about 3.5 to 4 hours to listen to the audio. Might take you an hour and a half to read through if you want to read the written materials. It's written in plain English. It's not written to intimidate you. We've got detailed tables of contents, large print. We got cross references from text to audio, audio to text. Here's another testimony. Read the new online text and took very little time. Listen to the audio. It's excellent. So where's this available? I'll tell you where this is available. Right now at Boston RIA, okay? That's where it's available. I do not have a website that I maintain and sell around a group like Boston RIA, okay? You can buy this system tonight and through to midnight, all right? That's when it's available, okay? If you think you see this sold online, it's a Chinese scammer website, okay? So please don't do that. About once a month, we hear from someone who said, oh, I bought your system for $40, some ridiculous amount of money, and I need it. And we say, you didn't buy it from us. You got a Chinese scammer. Go get the money out of China. So this system's available tonight through Boston RIA. Here's a testimonial purchase for just about all the so-called big name asset protection speakers out there. I tell you, their courses aren't even close to yours as a quality content, ease of use, especially this one. Thank you. And that's Barry Thomas from Orlando, Florida. Here's a guy from Tyson's Corner, Virginia. He says, before taking your class, I was considering working with one of the expensive lawyers you mentioned, blank of Texas, who I found on real estate education website, who we would have had to pay $7,200. I am not sure we would have been dissatisfied with the solution, but I'm quite certain it would have cost a lot more. Your LLC system alone seems well worth the price that you charge, all right? Who can use this? Anyone investing in real estate, okay? The only thing you can't do with this LLC system is combine it with your own self-directed IRA. That would create what's called a prohibited transaction. Other than that, anyone who's a real estate investor can use our LLC master machine system. Whether you're old, been investing a long time, just getting started, does not matter. Another testimony, I filled out all my paperwork online in a few seconds. The instructions are very clear and easy to follow. I can listen to the audio while driving. I have great confidence. I'm well protected. That's Rihanna. How about customer service? So if you get our LLC master machine system, you're not going to be just going onto a website and being left on an island. You're going to be able to email questions for me to answer about how to implement the LLC master machine system. That's for 6 months. So we've got a testimonial. You have the best email support response system in the country, more than any other national speaker. This is Frank, runs an online RIA group. Another guy says, I purchased the LLC Master Machine Kit. The really impressive part of the subscription is the support. I've had several questions since my purchase. Bill and Janine works with me, have been amazing. They not only answer all my questions, but they answer them very detailed and quickly, most often the same day. The package is definitely money well spent. And that was Saul. He's a realtor. Of course, you're welcome to share this information with an attorney or a CPA, and you get a benefit. There's no charge for that. They just can't copy it and start using it with their clients. You'll get a membership certificate. Typically, we charge $2,395, including the email support and all the benefits. We're not going to charge that. How about $1,495? Compare that to the thousands of dollars in legal fees and tax savings you'll get. As I mentioned, when you buy this evening, you will also be eligible to have a 45-minute telephone call with me about using our system, implementing it, answering your specific questions on how to implement our system. The only requirement is you have to get that phone call set up and had within 30 days of the purchase. I did this so that you wouldn't just buy it and not use it. I found out people were buying it and not using it. Nothing drove me crazier. So I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a 45-minute call within 30 days to make you get off your butt, get the system set up, feel comfortable, you know, that you don't have any questions, okay? You still get the email support for an extended period of time, but you're going to get a 45-minute call with me. That by itself is worth a lot. Plus, of course, it's tax deductible. I have a tax law citation for you to see. I'm going to drop the price to $1,095. And Jim says, I'm so impressed with the thoroughness and extent that's evident in your materials. You've left no stone unturned. Cost a fortune in attorney CPA fees to come up with anything even close. We got a couple of bonuses. First, we have an affiliation with a company called Incorp. Okay, Incorp is a professional registered agent. By the way, you never want to identify yourself on your documents as being your own registered agent. You might as well say, sue me, I'm the owner. Okay, never want to do that. So with this affiliation with Incorp, Incorp will assist you in filing your original document. It's called the Articles of Organization. They'll help you fill out those documents. They will not charge you a fee. You will have to, they will collect the money for the filing fee that they pay over to the state, okay? And they do that for free so long as you hire them to be their registered agent, okay? And again, you do not want to be a registered agent. And theoretically, they'd set up 15 LLCs for you without charge as long as you hire them to be the registered agent. Next, I'm going to give you an additional 6 months of email support. That means now you can email me for up to 1 year about how to implement our LLC Master Machine system. Next, we've got a subject to report. You've probably heard about buying property subject to the existing mortgage, okay? The problem is this. If you continue to make the mortgage payments, you're not going to get a bank statement at 1098 saying you made the mortgage interest payments. The bank's going to send it to the old owner who's still listed on the mortgage, okay? And you are absolutely 100% authorized to deduct the payment of mortgage interest, okay? Our subject to report includes legal, tax, investment, and financing aspects of subject to mortgages. So it'll tell you everything you need to know. And let me tell you right now, if you can pick up a property that's subject to its mortgage and the mortgage is 4%, you've made a killer deal, okay? Read this report. It will be worth the price of paying for everything, all right? Our subject to report's a $500 value, available when you buy our LLC system this evening. Also, and last, we have our Power Elite Trust, okay? Let me explain. Up to now, what have I been talking about? I have been talking about how to protect your personal assets from the claims of creditors of the LLC. But what if you got sued in your individual capacity? What if you had a lawsuit? Well, if you set up the Power Elite Trust before the initiation of the lawsuit, or a better way of saying it, before the incident supporting the lawsuit occurs, all right? If you set up the Power Elite Trust, you are judgment proof, okay? You ever hear the saying you can't get blood from a stone? You're the stone, okay? Ultimately, it's 3 trusts in one. It's a family legacy trust. In essence, it works to manage your assets in the event you're incapacitated, okay? And manages your assets on behalf of your heirs after you and your spouse's death, or if you're not married, just your death, okay? And that helps to protect your heirs from gold diggers, con artists, you know, people who are going to take advantage of someone with that kind of money, okay? So basically, it's a trust that acts as a real substitute. Next, it's a privacy trust. What do I mean by that? You're going to identify the trust not as the Bill Knoll Trust. You might call it the Blue Sky Trust. Okay, you are the beneficiary along with your children, the Blue Sky Trust. What are you going to put in the Blue Sky Trust? You're going to put in, first of all, your ownership units within the LLC. You're going to put in your primary residence as owned by the Power Elite Trust. If you have a vacation home, you can put that in vehicles, brokerage accounts, securities, investments. All of these assets are subject to attachment and probate, but not when held by the Power Elite Trust. Okay, so and in essence, if anyone does a title search for Bill Knoll, they're going to see no assets because they're all held by the Blue Sky Trust. Okay, and they don't know Bill Knoll is the beneficiary of the Blue Sky Trust. And then the third part of the trust, of the three trusts in one, is it's an asset protection trust. Because it is irrevocable and you identify contingent beneficiaries, your heirs, in essence, you do not own the assets personally, you don't have access to them, and therefore they're not subject to a lawsuit. You are judgment proof, okay? So, as I said, this is an irrevocable life estate grantor trust. Being irrevocable is what gives you asset protection, okay? Now, irrevocable doesn't mean forever and no way to be revoked. Irrevocable means that it can be revoked, but only upon the consent of all of the beneficiaries. I always say this, if you got 3 kids and one is a hardhead, you say, hey, I put all my stuff into this Power Elite Trust. You're listed as a secondary beneficiary. I've decided I want to get rid of this trust and revoke it, but I need your consent, okay? The first 2 kids, they're like, yeah, whatever. Go ahead, Dad. You need us to sign something, we'll sign something. The hardhead goes, wait a minute. If you need my consent, I don't have to agree, right? And then your answer is simply this. You're right. You don't have to agree. But I guess I forgot to mention, within that is also a thing called a power of appointment. And then, although I can't write you out, I can transfer your interest as a beneficiary to your other 2 siblings. So it's okay. I could invoke the power of appointment. Oh, okay, Dad, I guess I'll consent. All right. Next, it is a life estate trust. So what it means is for your use and benefit during your lifetime. Okay. Last, and this is the great part, it's a grantor trust. What does that mean? It means, in essence, that this trust is invisible to the IRS. Okay. You continue to file the same tax return that you have always filed. It does not change the way in which you file your taxes. You don't have to file a complex trust tax return. You only have to file a trust tax return upon the death of the either the spouses, or if it's just one person, the primary beneficiary. Okay. Ultimately, a Power Elite Trust gives you the best of all worlds. It gives you probate avoidance. It's impossible to contest. It gives you trust management, privacy, asset protection. There are no negative tax consequences. Our system is available. We have 2 different trusts. One is for married spouses, and the one's for other unmarried people. We have, of course, an instruction guide that's included with the trust system. When you combine a Power Elite Trust with the LLC Master Machine system, what do you have? An unbelievable, impenetrable amount of protection. Our Power Elite Trust today, by itself, a law firm would charge $3,000 plus for that. Okay. So what are you going to get when you buy our LLC system? You're going to get access to our website, the LLC Master Machine system. That is going to give you instructions on how to use the system. There are also audio files on how to use the system. Okay. You will be able then, once you understand how to create your documents by identifying your LLC by name, the date created, the state it's in, and then who the owners are. Punch out, spit out all those documents. All those documents you can edit if you so choose. All right. Then you get the free LLC setup through our affiliation with Incorp. You now have 1 year's email support, okay, about implementing our LLC Master Machine system. You're getting the subject to report and the Power Elite Trust, plus the 45-minute telephone call with me. It's worth over $7,000 today. When Duncan talked to me, he said, hey, could you keep it under $995? I said, I will make that deal. So we have our LLC Master Machine Asset Protection System. At this point, Duncan, I'm glad to answer questions again. And also, Duncan, if you haven't, could you put in the purchasing link up into the chat box for people to be able to put their
Yeah,
order?
I have not, Bill. I'm searching for that actually right now. We do have a question from Erica,
Okay.
and her Erica, do you want to ask it directly? Let me just get her on here real quick, and I'm
Sure. I
going
mean, I
to.
can ask the question.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Gotcha.
Yeah, so would this offer be reasonable for someone who's hoping to set up an Airbnb that would be a shared space, so like the people wouldn't get the entire space, but rather they would be sharing a space with the primary owner?
So I'm going to say maybe, and here's the reason that I say that. Typically, my recommendation is you use the LLC for your investment property. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing an Airbnb and it's your primary residence, there would have to be some editing done to the operating agreement. So I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but there would be a little more work involved than you would typically consider.
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
I would just imagine that there might be still like some sort of lawsuit, like let's say somebody does injure themselves on my property and they say, hey, I don't know, like I slipped on the floor and I hit my head.
Well, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, Eric. I'm just not following what you're getting at. Okay.
So what I'm asking is, this whole setup was to limit the amount of lawsuits, or essentially just like try to protect the owner of the real estate as much as possible from any sort of audits, lawsuits, etc. And so I guess in my case, what would be the recommendation for me to try to protect?
I'm not sure I can give you a perfect recommendation, Erica. I'm sorry. You're asking something that is incredibly
Specific.
unique. Yeah. So
Okay.
could we work with it? Yeah, but is it yeah, there is no simple answer to your question. I'm sorry. I wish I could say that there was.
Okay. What about for somebody who would be just doing the Airbnb and that would be like for someone who would have hosts in that space?
Yeah. I mean, an Airbnb changes nothing. You are a real estate investor. Whether you have tenants that typically stay for 3 days or you have tenants who stay for a year, that changes nothing.
Okay. That answers.
Uh,
Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Bill, I haven't been able to find that link, so if you could just resend it to me. So
Yeah,
I
well,
did
you're gonna
want
have to give me a minute then, Duncan, because
yeah, that's fine.
I don't have
I'm going to
it.
talk in the
Try to.
background a little bit. So you mentioned prior that some of these other companies, they wanted fees to maintain all the stuff for you, and you don't do that. But obviously, there's ongoing costs to monitor this. Or, I mean, say they wanted to go into an agreement with you for them to be their CPA, you could continue offering that advice,
Yeah.
or represent them as an attorney.
So one thing I tell people is, a lot of the reason I do this, Duncan, is because they people want to hire me to be a CPA. And the thing I
Mhm.
always say is, unless you buy the LLC system, I'm not available to be a CPA. Okay.
Okay.
So do I work with real estate investors throughout the country, but
Mhm.
got to buy the system first. Okay. So
That makes perfect sense.
That's a
To
prerequisite.
make sure it's done right. So and I'll talk a little bit about my personal case here. So I was audited twice for some, just for some stupid, wrong document, wrong, wrong schedule, and they flagged it, boom. And to help me out through it, I had to hire I actually ended up hiring somebody from the IRS that was an auditor, that then started representing me on the legal side of things. And I tell you what, that just that was painful as hell and also very expensive. Did it get resolved the way I would have liked? No, I got my amount down that I owed, but I still ended up paying years and years for a stupid mistake. So I'm saying prevention is way better than a cure in this scenario when you're real estate investing. I can guarantee you, if you're a real estate investor, you will be sued sometime in your life. I mean, would you agree with that, Bill?
Did you say sued or audited? I'm sorry.
Sued or
I'm just
audited,
on the link.
either one of the two. I mean,
Okay,
if you
well,
have that correct.
a lawsuit's going to happen sooner or later. I can assure
Right.
you, and I can assure everyone else.
Mhm.
But sorry, I'm trying to get to the chat. I found the.
That's all right. So well, you get that. Yeah, I looked through it. I'm sorry.
I have it. I'm
was
just trying to find where how do I get to the chat to put it into the.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, down at the bottom, there's the chat, and that's
Oh,
yeah,
here it
it'll
is.
just
I got it.
Yep,
I
you got
it.
it. Super,
I got
guys.
it.
So Bill is putting on that again because we've discussed with Bill, this is a special deal. Hence, to get that special deal, it is very time sensitive. This is not, it's going to be available for 24 hours or even the weekend at
Okay.
that. It's midnight tonight. That's it. You're done. The people on replay will hear this, but they will be getting it at the normal price. That is the reward for coming to a live presentation, asking questions, and being proactive and being an active member of the Boston Real Estate Investors Association. So well done, everybody.
Yeah,
even
and
if
at
you
this
don't end up
point,
buying tonight,
Duncan, I do have the link is here in the chat
Okay.
box. So anyone who wants to purchase it, just scroll all the way down to the bottom and there's a purchase button. So it's kind of a long screen, but just scroll all the way down to the bottom and there's the purchase button. And as I said, it says the link is not working. I'm just gonna try it
You
because
gotta love it.
I asked that it be checked by my staff yesterday.
I will get it sorted out.
Yeah,
So
it's working on my end. I'm not sure why it's not. I don't know if maybe you have to copy the link because I just did it.
yeah,
at least
it's possible. I obviously I'm
and the
sitting
other thing
down
is, I think Duncan, if anyone wants to put an order in through you guys, we can do it that way too.
Okay. So guys, you need to paste the entire URL. Okay, here's a question while we're working on that.
Sure.
What if I opened up an LLC a few years ago, but never did anything with it? I actually asked Rebecca, why don't you, there's no URL, just text words. Okay, so I'm gonna let Rebecca come on board here, if you don't mind. Let me just unmute you. And you are unmuted, I think. If you could unmute yourself
Is Rebecca
there on your side, Rebecca. I cannot unmute you. Maybe you should have to. Okay, well, I can't unmute her for some strange reason.
She's
Oh,
unmuted.
there you go.
There
Okay,
she is.
super. Thank you. All right, Rebecca, turn on camera and take it away.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
how are ya?
Hi, Rebecca.
I am new. I'm fairly new. However, I got an LLC a couple of years ago, but never did anything with it. And then obviously COVID came and that kind of closed everything down. And so now I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. And but I haven't done anything under that LLC. So was I supposed to fill out some sort of IRS
No, I mean,
tax form notifying that I haven't made any profit?
Okay. Rebecca, I'll stop you. This is an easy answer. Was the LLC owned just by you?
Yeah, it's a sole proprietor one.
Yeah, right. Okay, so it was a disregarded entity owned by you. You didn't have to do anything. You did not have to tell the IRS one thing. You had no activity, you didn't have to report anything.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, because I was told that I was supposed to and that I was gonna get penalized.
No, whoever told you that is an idiot, okay?
A
So
lawyer.
here's what I can tell you, okay? There might be a requirement to do a registration, which has nothing to do with the IRS, okay? Not one thing to do with the IRS. Absolutely, there's not much I'm going to say absolutely on. Absolutely, positively, if you had no activity and it's a disregarded entity, you file nothing with the IRS.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. I don't know if this
Okay, so
get the link?
I've just put the link up here now, and it should work. I'm going to press the link button there. I think that should work. I'm going to check it right now, and that does work, Bill.
All
Oh,
right.
wait a
Great.
second. Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah,
It goes
sorry
to
about that.
Mr. And is there two ends in that thing here? Let me just.
Yeah,
It does not work.
Yeah, I don't even know how it got set up. It wasn't something I took care of, but that's how
All
you.
right. Yeah, I tell you what, I have not going to. Yeah, it's not clicking for me
I
now.
bet it,
Just saying.
Duncan, I bet it's Mr. Network I think that double end shouldn't be there.
All right, let me check that real quick.
I'm just guessing, but
And
Yeah,
I think
I know it works on my computer. I do know it works on my computer.
hmm.
Mr.
For whatever
Network
reason.
LLC, Bill Knoll. You know what? I'm exiting down in Argentina, so I can't get on many sites in the USA.
Duncan,
So yeah,
sorry, it says not found. The requested URL was not
okay.
found on this server. Yeah.
Okay, so the link I just pasted in, Janice said it worked for her. So now we got that straightened out. Thank you, Janice, for confirming that. Was that with the double N or just the one
For
N?
me, the double end does not work. I'm just
Okay.
saying.
So how about, can we ask that if anyone can't make the order, they contact you guys? Would that be a fair request on
Yes.
my part?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
instead of
fair.
arguing about whether the link works or not.
Yep. So, guys, like I said, this isn't until 12 o'clock. I know you want to hear that State of the Union address, but this is very important. So just text Kelly, send an email to bostonria@gmail.com. We'll get it all sorted out and get you in touch with Bill and get that processed and get your call scheduled. What sort of time frame, Bill, would you suggest them getting their call into you, by the way?
Well, I said it has to be within 30 days. So what'll happen is I will send them an email Monday and say, okay, you have to have your call by whatever the day is, and please let me know, and we'll set up the call. And that's how we do it. So it has to be within 30 days, and that's to give people a little bit of time to review the materials, because I think it makes more sense for them to kind of review the materials and then have the call than simply call up and say, oh, I haven't read anything and I don't know what to ask you. That's not a
Okay.
very good use of the call. So that's why I say, and it really, we're talking about maybe an hour to 2 hours material and
Okay.
then, have the call. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And by the way, Sarah just posted the correct link. It's working now. Yeah. So
Thank
everybody, do you see where it says Sarah Ibrahim? Click on that link right there.
I just posted it again. It's
Yeah.
working for me. It worked on my end.
So yeah, everyone.
Awesome,
Anyone?
guys. All right, Bill. Well, thank you very much. I won't take up more of your
Teamwork.
time. Like I said, guys, I always encourage people to play to their strong points. If you're passionate about real estate and making deals, that's what you become good at. I suck at property management. I suck at taxes. I suck at customer service skills. My forte and where I'm strong at and what makes me money is the art of the deal. Your time is so valuable. Please just rather hire somebody that knows this stuff, that it will take your headache away, your pain away, it will speed up your investing business. The price is incredible. It's a no-brainer to go ahead and do that. Get started, set up your business properly, protect your assets. I'm telling you, I've been sued many times. It's well worth to get your assets protected, and being audited by the US The IRS 2 times sucks. It literally sucks. So I can't tell you enough to get your assets protected. That's my heart. That I'm telling you, it's going to be the best thing you ever did for yourself. Start with your foundation correct, and then everything else is easy after that. All right. So, Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure, Duncan.
The only way you're going to hear the replay again is through the members area. So if you're not a member, you need to become a member to get the replay and all the other great stuff I talked about as our business. So we gave you a great deal on the membership rates tonight. You can contact Kelly for that too. But we learned some valuable stuff, and that's why it's not going to be on public for anyone to see. So and like I say, make a commitment to yourself. The deadline tonight is midnight. Is that true, Bill? That's true, Bill?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Awesome.
Eastern, midnight Eastern?
Yeah, Eastern time, correct.
Okay.
All right, guys.
All right, I'm gonna
Yeah, we don't
sign
have any
off. Thank you,
Californians on.
Duncan. Thank you, Kelly.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bill.
Thank you,
Take
Bill.
care to everyone.
Coming on. That
Have
was
a good night.
wow. That was a lot.
All right. Don't forget to copy the chat box, guys. If you've had networking done in there, I'm going to give you time to paste or copy and paste that before I send this meeting. Next month, we're going to have another great meeting. Look out for some great emails coming along with some new benefits we've launched. Make sure you sign up get your Life and Air login for having that work-life balance. And make sure you have completed your enrollment. It's free for Home Depot, so you can start getting that cash back to your preferred pricing and so many other great benefits. So we look forward to having you again and seeing you online next month. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Happy
thank you.
St. Patty's.